Joe Cervelli just told us that he's probably not going to be Mark Teixeira at first base, but thinks he'll be okay out there. What are you expecting out of him?
For him to be okay, obviously he hasn't had a lot of time over there. I've seen him take a lot of ground balls over the years that he's been here, and he's when I've watched, he's been able to take ground balls and make it look pretty easy. So I know it's a transition. It's not something that I have to stay with the whole game necessarily. While Chen's in there, it's something that obviously we want to try out. And times when your lineup is not all the people that you think it's going to be, you have to take a risk here and there. But when you do that, a lot of times you find a lot of rewards. And if you don't, then you never have an idea what a player can do.
What do you think the most difficult thing will be for him at first?
I really don't know. I've never played first. Fortunately, they never put me anywhere else. One of the things that I think might be the trickiest is when you're holding someone on and having to get off the base and be prepared for a ground ball with some of their left-handed hitters. But I really believe that he can handle it. I do, and we're going to find out.
Announced that you guys had called up Cabral. What went into that decision going with another lefty?
Well, we brought another lefty in. Not sure what I have for Matt Thornton today. He was obviously he pitched yesterday, and he'd been up a couple times the days before that, and he is rested. And we think we're going to face some. We're seeing some pretty tough left-handed hitters this week, and we feel like he can help us.
Dan. Caitlin.
Last year we had this conversation, it seemed a lot, about guys moving to places where they weren't comfortable. Is it concerning that you have to do this and it's, game 8 of the season and that, you're back to a little bit where you were last year with having to manipulate the lineup?
Right. It's part of the job is really what it is. And that's why you have guys do things, in spring training or I would tell Servy always take ground balls just in case, and it was last year and the year before, and because you never know what type of situation you're in, you never know what type of game you're going to get in, and there is no perfect roster. As much as you want to say that you can construct a perfect roster, it's difficult, and when you have some guys nicked up, it becomes even harder.
Eric.
Joe, you talked about risk reward with Cervelli. Do you consider this a low risk or a high risk?
Low risk.
Because of his just overall athleticism?
Yes.
Played all over?
Yes, and he's played infield before. And what I've seen with my eyes, watching him take ground balls, he's very proficient. And there's a few nuances of first base that could come up, but you could play 50 games in a sense, and you may never have the type of play that you might get on one particular day.
Andrew, to your right.
With the backup guys like Cervelli, what's the reasoning that they don't play like Cervelli, play first base in an exhibition game, just in case the scenario comes up? Because you guys have had this last couple of years.
Well, we had a competition for catching, number one. Number two, we thought it was important that he got to know the pitchers as well, because there are a lot of new faces when you look at what we have. So, that's the number one priority.
Joe, what is the reward? If Cervelli does play well, does this free up Johnson maybe to go back to third base for a little bit instead of?
Well, it just gives us more flexibility during the course of the season. We're going to see 3 left-handers this week, and we're going to see a lot. And, we don't anticipate Texas is going to be out very long, but you never know.
Joe, you worked out Soriano at first base this spring. Why didn't that work out?
Well, part of it was he got behind right away in spring training, and we didn't really have what we felt the time was to work on it because we thought it was important that he also work in right and left, because he had really only played left field, and we didn't want him to only play right in a sense. So we felt that we had to handle that first.
Meredith.
Do you have Kelly today?
Probably not, no.
Who would close?
That's a great question, Meredith. Let's just see where they are in the lineup.
Figured you'd say that.
Sweeney.
Joe, do you think it'll be Kelly in most of the situations going forward?
I would think so, Sweeney. Yeah.
No. Why is it such a big deal when guys move around? Is it just because they lack repetitions at those positions? I mean, they're clearly athletic, and it just seems to be a big deal to move a guy from one position to another.
Yeah, I think it's because they lack repetition, and I think it's because of where we're at. We're in New York and usually have a guy that's a fixture at every position. You know, if you're in some other towns where guys do move around a lot, people don't really say, ooh, you know, it's, oh, okay, that's just what they do here. But we're so used to having a first baseman, a second base, so when you do have to start manipulating a little bit, it's kind of strange.
It seems that players, sometimes are uncomfortable with it too.
Well, I mean, they may not have the confidence that they can play infield or you know, they can go the other side of the diamond and play infield. Players like to feel comfortable. There's no doubt about it. But during the course of the season, with some of the things that happen, with the guys getting nicked up, sometimes you have to be a little uncomfortable to help us.
Dan.
Yeah, while Teixeira is out, is Cervelli still the backup catcher, or is he?
Yes.
Okay, so if you needed a replacement for McCann, it would be Cervelli first before Romine.
Well, he's our backup catcher, but for example, I mean, I could put Romine into catch too. I mean, that sort of thing too. I mean, by Cervi being able to do that and having three catchers, I have a lot of flexibility in a sense.
Andrew.
Was McCann at all in your thoughts at first base? Or,
No.
And if so, why not?
Because he's been a catcher, and it's not something I want to, run him out there. I've talked about when I give him a day off, it's going to be a day off. It's not going to be playing first, and I can get my half day as a DH every once in a while, but it's just I've seen Cervi take a lot of ground balls, and I said I've liked what I've seen, and I've never seen Brian McCann take one.